Three, two, one. Hey, welcome back to Ash on Comics. I'm Ash, and today I have 4X, or X-Men Fantastic Four. No one really knows how to pronounce this. If you try to look it up as 4X, which clearly seems to be the title of the book, you won't find it. This is freaking Marvel. Anyways, this is a book that's by Chip Zdarsky and the Dodson couple, I guess. I think it's Terry and Rachel Dodson, if I remember correctly, doing the art. I don't know why Quanon is on the cover here. She's not in the book that I can recall. Maybe she is. It's kind of forgettable. Now, I'm going to do my best to keep this short for a review. This book is something I want to like. It is. The series so far has been better than the rest of the X titles. And I will make a disclaimer known straight out. I am an X-Men snob. I'm a comic snob, but I'm also even more so an X-Men snob. I don't like mediocre X-Men. I don't like X-Men that aren't written correctly, if you will. Like, that don't follow like the character, that we know and love. I don't like sloppy X-Men stories that don't seem to understand the character and the world of the X-Men. So bear that in mind, because this isn't a bad comic. It's not a great comic, and it's also a comic that I don't like that much because of some stupidities. If I didn't care about X-Men, if I was just like, oh, I just want a fun adventure comic, this would be okay, probably. But because I hold it to a higher standard, some of these things they're not really forgivable to me. So starting right off the bat, I don't remember Rogue being a bubblegum blowing bimbo girl, but whatever. So the X-Men are inbound to get. There's a big chase. Everyone's trying to get Franklin Richards. The mutants want Franklin Richards because he's a mutant and he belongs with his superior race and their own little elite island utopia where they can rule over mankind together. The Fantastic Four, specifically I'm just all tongue-tied. Specifically, Reed Richards and Sue Richards are the parents of said Franklin Richards. Now, anyone, I believe, that's listening, I'm sure there's some exceptions, most level-headed, reasonable people understand that parents have the right to tell their kids what to do, as long as what they're telling their kids to do are not immoral things, like telling your kids to murder people, obviously, no. But as far as looking out for their livelihood, if you tell your kid they have to go to school, they have to go to school. If your kid needs to go to the doctor's appointment, he needs to go to the doctor. If he needs to do his chores, he needs to do his chores. And if he needs to not go hang out with a bunch of ethno-supremacist fascists, yes, he doesn't get to do that either. So I am a person who believes very strongly that I'm just going to say the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic, I know Johnny Storm. Well, I guess he's uncle, so I guess they're all family. Now I get into Ben Grant. Anyways, I'm in the weeds already. I'm just going to say the Fantastic Four, but you understand what I mean by the family. The family comes first over your state sovereignty bullshit. Okay? The X-Men have literally kidnapped Franklin Richards, and that he was then re-kidnapped or given asylum by Doom. Now the X-Men are chasing down the Fantastic Four had snuck on to Krakoa to get their son, but he wasn't there. So now they're making an escape. They're flying away in their Fantastic Car. I think they're still calling it the Fantastic Car. And then the Blackbird is following. Apparently Reed Richards' technology is only so limited. It doesn't compare to what the X-Men can do. Whatever. And they're trying to get away. And apparently the Blackbird now has weapons because, of course, it does. It's the X-Men are villains, so everything about them would be much more aggressive. And they blast the Fantastic Car out of the sky, potentially have murdering their once friends and the parents of the person they're trying to recruit. But they're saved by Sue and her little shield, and then they crash down on the island. And they're like, well, we got a plan here. We'll figure out a way to talk them down. And then Johnny Storm's like, they ain't talking, Reed. Flame on! And then this is a cool shot. And I did like Zdarsky, his understanding of telling a superheroic conflict. This is one of the cool things I loved about X-Men books, Fantastic Four books, Avengers books, whatever, is clashing of superpowered characters. Johnny Storm flies up into the sky, and we get this immediately. There's no narration. No one has to explain what happens. That's a quality aspect of the book, that Nightcrawler teleports Wolverine up into the sky so he can ambush Johnny. Rogue's flying out. I don't know what happened to Rogue's legs. And she's like, you can't just slip into a country and spy on it. And one of the things that reads wrong to me about this whole X-Men thing is how instantly all of them, just their whole life experience and everything, instantly they are converts to this mutant mecca, this ethno state, this idea of like, oh, we're not X-Men anymore, we're actually a nation. Like they've converted so instantly and rapidly, it doesn't make any sense. That the Fantastic Four would instantly be their enemy, and you're spying on our country. I just don't think the X-Men would think like that, or anyone on Genosha. They wouldn't be used to that idea. They would still be. It takes years. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if you move to a foreign country, like you're an American and you move to, I don't know, Russia. You wouldn't just adapt to being Russian tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of immigrants that come to this country, as a matter of fact, I mean, they take decades to really kind of adapt. And even then, they don't really 100% convert to the American way of life. They still carry it over, and it's their offspring and their children. Anyways, I'm in the weeds again. Here's a shitty panel. Look at this. Look at Wolverine's big ass and penis head Reed Richards. Why is he being drawn like this? Probably because it's much easier. So they're getting in a fight, and then Wolverine is threatening to kill Reed Richards. He's like, our kids are about to be orphans. And then, fortunately, Sue shields him. I don't know why he looks like this still. Like, he just looks like a glob. So, if I read this book and I tell myself, okay, Ash, the X-Men are villains, then I get it. That the Fantastic Four are the heroes, the X-Men are the villains. But that's me kind of forcing that interpretation. The book's not really saying that. The book is like, this is the Fantastic Four, this is the X-Men. These are all Marvel heroes. So it's really annoying me. In the back of my mind, I can't help and be like, why is Wolverine being such an asshole villain right now? He's like trying to kill... You know what I'm saying? They have to, oh no, Ash, he's a villain. And I'm like, no, but I don't like, that's not how Wolverine is. And then we see these two. And Emma Frost, of course, she's always been a villain. And she's mind controlling Johnny Storm here. And again, they're using the whole argument of, so let's first bring you to Krakoa for your espionage and illegal entry trial. Again, it's just all like, we have the right because we made and then a trial, an interesting proposition, but a hypocritical one to make while illegally on Latverian soil, Miss Frost. And it's like, boom, Dr. Doom dropping a mic. It's like, I love Doom. Doom is one of my favorite comics characters of all time, period. One of my favorite characters of all time. Love Dr. Doom. And here, seeing Dr. Doom be less of a villain than the X-Men just puts into contrast how villainous the X-Men really are. And I mean, Doom's calling them hypocrites. And I love that Zdarsky doesn't make excuses for this. Zdarsky's writing, hey, look, like, I'm not going to make excuses for what the X-Men are doing. So it's a logical assumption. And it sucks that I have to read the book this way, because I get so many other fans, people who put in my comments, I see in comments on other channels and things on social media, will argue that you just don't understand the X-Men, and they've been fighting the oppression all this time, and they're just defending themselves. They're not villain. That's just... No. They're a fascist ethno-state. If the X-Men, if you just took away their powers and you just made all of them white, and they were fighting for the ability to be white supremacists, exactly everything else the same, you would understand and recognize it. We make excuses for it because they're not fighting for whiteness, they're fighting for mutantness, right? Mutant just replaces white. And they literally have told people, we are your gods now. And they'll say that in this book. So Dr. Doom, stands down Magneto, and he's just a boss. He's just one man, and he's not afraid of the whole nation of mutants. He's just like, whatever. His armor has been made with some sort of non-metal stuff, so Magneto can't hurt him. He explains how he wouldn't be a fool. He would be a fool to knowing Magneto's in the world to just run around in metal armor. Of course, that's for the reader's benefit, because otherwise, if they didn't have that dialogue, you would say, well, why is Magneto? It'd be confusion. So they find that Kitty Pryde is on the island. She's made a deal. And, now they're like telling her, you don't have the authority to make a deal, blah, 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 this and that. And then Reed Richards like, this is our kid. And this whole thing. And the whole time I'm reading it going, like, all these people should shut up. Give the kid back to the family and let them go home. None of you have any rights to stand on. But Doctor Doom is a known villain. I don't think of him as a hero. And Doctor Doom hates the Fantastic Four. So it makes sense for him to go against the family and plot. But I don't like this modern trope of what's happening here. And I know Chip Zdarsky is a raging SJW progressive, so it makes sense that he would write it. He generally keeps that clean from his comics, at least in Daredevil. He also did it in Spider-Man. Life Story was clean of all these social politics stuff. But here it leaks in a little bit, this idea that children can tell their parents, we don't have to listen to you. And that parents just have to stand back and go, oh, okay, you guys do whatever you want. So he's going to basically go into like a life-threatening procedure. This is not something children are allowed to do. Parents make that decision. Now, it might be flipped the other way. The only time the decision is taken out of the parents' hands if the kid is about to die and doctors have to make a decision to like, I got to save this life. And the parents are like, no, our religion forbids us to accept medical treatment. Things like that. But this is not what the case is. This is an elective procedure. The kid doesn't want to lose his powers and they're going to do something. And dad doesn't want that to happen. And he's trying to be nice and he's, telling him like, son, we can't trust him. And then this scene here, where the kid revolts, he's like, no, I'm staying until Doom does what he says he can do. You don't give orders to me anymore. I'm not 4 years old, and I'm not Uncle Ben or Johnny. And then this was a really weird, kind of cringy, like, this is his sister. She's like, wow. But that doesn't look like a sisterly look. That looks like, oh man, he's a man now, like hubba hub, like, you're just like, no, like, so he's having to explain to his son, like, dude, this is the biggest villain in all of the universe. This is Doctor Doom. But the kid's like, no. And I just don't like this idea of Reed Richards' bad parent. It rubs me wrong. And then they talk into it. It's like, oh, Hank McCoy will assist and da 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 da, and his blah blah blah. Fast forward. There's a bunch of, everyone's got their own little agendas. The Fantastic Four want to take their kid. The mutants want to take the kid. Everything's, and then meanwhile, back in the Doom lab, things are going on. They're about to like do the procedure, and the mutant, they discover, hey, on this Doom Island, Doom's got his own bunch of mutants, so let's go kidnap them. And this is something Doom's, of course, prohibited. And they're like, hate to break up a grand speech, but I'm hearing, oh, shit. And so you can see here, and the Doom bots, Logan. So they're there to enforce the law of the island. Remember, this is something the mutants expect to be followed on theirs. But then they leave the island, they break it, and they don't have to follow the laws. The laws don't apply to them, and this is something that progressive elitists think like. They think that the world doesn't apply to them, that everyone has to bend around their ideas. Zdarsky's writing it, but Zdarsky is one of those people, and I don't know why I'm getting so political into this. I'm basically just explaining what goes on in my head as I'm reading the book and what causes me to not enjoy it. There's a scene here where a Doombot flies off with Wolverine, and Emma's like, wait, I think I sense Logan. And then Wolverine's like, time to shut you down, Tin Can. Logan, stop. Now, this kind of bothered me because, okay, so Emma could sense what you think is just happening right here. I'll get to that in a minute. So we go back to the lab, and Reed's like, I don't think you should do this. It's too risky. And then Hank McCoy is like, I disagree with your father. The science looks sound. Hank McCoy is a relatively smart guy as far as these things are concerned. But he's no Reed Richards. He is no Reed Richards. For him to counterman, whatever. So Reed capitulates like the cuck that he has been made into, and just tries to tell his son, okay, well, I don't have any fatherly powers over you, so I'm just going to tell you I love you, and you do whatever you want. And so Wolverine stands there with blood on his hands, and then Wolverine's like, blood? What did... And then they go on with things. And then, of course, there's a person inside. And Doom stops the procedure because he's like, it appears your fellow mutants disobeyed my request. But not only that, they murdered a Latverian. Dun, dun, dun. And then unleash the Doom Sentinels. Which, quite honestly, is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I love the Sentinels. I think Sentinels are badass. They're my favorite X-Men villain, and the idea that Doom would make Sentinels, like, who could make Sentinels better than Doom? No, like, right? Like, of course he would have them. It's just, and I'm like, why has this never been thought of before? So this is part of me that looks at this as from a kid's eyes and goes, wow, that's freaking cool. And if I didn't love X-Men the way that I do, if I wasn't a snob of comics and continuity and things, I would really enjoy this a lot more, because there is a fun story here. But it's a sloppy one, and the characters aren't behaving right. And it just makes me want to wring people's necks. And it's hard to enjoy the story when you're simultaneously going, oh, that's fun, exciting, and then in the next minute you're like, oh, God, I just want to see this character die. There's too much conflict. I'm going to give this 3 stars. There's one more book left. It's a fun read. It's definitely better than anything I've read in House of X, Powers of X, which is just all just trash. Even the X books. Oh, I'm still reviewing X-Men, but I don't know why people like those books. They're just not good. Bad art. The writing is atrocious. The characters are all unlikable. When I review these books, I try to keep in mind that you're paying money for them, right? Like, it'd be different if all this stuff was free. I'd just be like, oh, whatever, that's fun. This is $4. And in the case of X-Men, these are bi-weekly books. You're paying, I think X-Men books right now, if you want to follow the whole X-Men line, it's over $100 a month. That's ridiculous. I expect way better for that money. And anyways, I'm in the weeds as usual. Fun book. It's got problems. It's annoying. I don't recommend it. But if you're way into the Dawn of X stuff, then this is going to be some of the better stuff. #read Daredevil. Thanks for watching.